Gentlemen, let's get into this one. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Islam Makhachev, who this past weekend at UFC 294 at the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi, UAE, retains his UFC undisputed lightweight title by defeating once again Alexander Volkanovski. This time, finishing Alexander the Great in the first round with a head kick followed up by punches. The official time coming at 3:06 of the very first round. Mark, give us your reaction to this fight, how it unfolded, how it played out, and ultimately how it finished with Islam getting his hand raised once again.
This thing was just such a sequence of emotions for me the whole time because, as you guys know, initially I hated that this fight had to happen on 10 days notice. Obviously I get it. Volk wanted to jump at the opportunity, but just a fight of this magnitude, I didn't like it happening on 10 days notice. I already feel the same way about Aspinall and Pavlovich, which we'll get to, which obviously just got booked today. So I had that concern coming into the fight, and then Volk makes the walk, and I'm like, all right, maybe this dude's ready to go. Maybe we're going to get a great fight here. And then it starts, and maybe it's just because he looked a little out of shape, and maybe your mind plays tricks on you when you see that. But 10 seconds in, I'm like, man, he looks a little stiff. He looks a little slow. And I was concerned from that. Then Islam shoots, and Volk stuffs it, and he yells and he turns around the clinch against the fence, and I was like, damn, all right, maybe I'm bugging. Maybe he's ready to go. This is going to be great. And then 10 seconds later, the fight's over, and we didn't get anything. I mean, we got something for sure. We got an enormous statement from Islam, but I just had these hopes of another classic, and it did not happen. But I take nothing away from Islam. He is the best lightweight in the world at the moment. He proves it yet again. To go in there and finish the arguable best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, on short notice or not, in about 3 minutes is wild. And to do it with his striking. And we've been preaching this all along. We always say this. It seems like a lot of other people constantly forget this because they just lump him in as the next Khabib, and it's wrestling, wrestling, wrestling. But Islam has always been and continues to be a hell of a striker. It is a large part of his game, and he showed it again. It was a beautiful setup. Apparently he saw this in the first fight, and it was a focus for them. He went to the body with the left kick to get Volk thinking about that, and then he went high, and it connected. And he got Volk out of there, man. So an absolutely huge statement from Islam regarding, showing how damn good he is and how high of a hurdle he is going to be for any of these other lightweights to have to try to clear. And was Volk at his best? Maybe not. Obviously, you heard him after the fight kind of getting real emotional and saying that he knew he wasn't, hadn't really been training and wasn't in a great spot, but he just felt like it was fate when he got the offer and he had to take it and he believed it was all going to come together. And you could tell he didn't want to make excuses, but you could tell he was pretty broken up about it because you got to think that's his last chance now. I doubt he gets a third shot unless it's years from now and they both just keep winning fights, but that's a big ask. Yeah, so this series is probably over, and Islam certainly closes the book on that one without any real debate on who was the better man.
Omar, give us your thoughts as this fight played out in the 3 minutes that it lasted.
Yeah, the left kick from the one of the main reasons why that setup even worked the way that it did is because you were having a fight between a southpaw and an orthodox fighter. So you immediately, when you have these opposing stances, the body kicks and the power of the body kicks opens up on essentially on the open side, right? It's normally when you guys have the same stance, the protection that you normally get from that stance comes naturally as a result of the fact that you guys are both kicking from the same side, right? But here it's a little bit more open, and so there was a lot more opportunity to set up that kick, a lot more opportunity to use the power shot to do it. And in the first fight, he was doing it quite a bit. I don't even think he saw it really in the first fight while he was doing it. I think he just saw the opportunity and went for it when it was open. But in this fight, I think he used it purposefully, obviously, to kind of set up that head kick. Because even when he went for that head kick, he was kind of programming the body kick as he was moving back, as he was getting Volk to kind of shift his way back towards the fence. And it was a beautiful setup, man. It was really, really nice. It landed clean on Volk's head. It was rough. It was rough because just like Mark said, as far as a rematch with Islam at this point, that's probably never going to happen. And short of Islam leaving and somebody else taking the belt, I truly believe Volkanovski could fight again for another interim or for another lightweight belt. But I just don't think it's going to happen as long as Islam is the champion.
Yeah, if he keeps turning back every single featherweight challenger, the idea of them being not necessarily for a belt, but of being, pretend someone like a Gaethje is not the champion at this moment I'm referring to. Of them being like, super fight, Volkanovski versus Gaethje. Like, I could absolutely see that. Like, I don't think he's necessarily done taking lightweight fights. It just, like you said, to have a crack at the title, he would need that title to change hands.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of like what Volk did to Max is what Islam has done to Volk, sort of.
A little bit, yeah.
Across divisions, but yeah, sure.
Right. Let's talk about the 12 days notice. How much do you guys think that was a factor or not at all? Like, if you think Omar, even if Volk had an 8-week camp, came in incredible shape, would Islam still have programmed him with body kicks and landed that head kick?
It's very possible, but at the same time, we don't know. We don't know though if Volk's camp would have been able to catch that either, right? There would have been a lot of tapes that they would have been reviewing. I'm sure they would have watched the first fight probably on repeat nonstop, like taking a shower watching the fight, cooking watching the fight. You know what I mean? So we don't know what those weeks of preparation could have led to, and they could have been able to make adjustments way before they actually showed up to the fight. Volk was basically just kind of pissing in the wind. To be fair, Islam kind of had to have the same sort of adjustments though on the fly as well, right? Like, yeah, Islam also while he was in camp for somebody else, he was still only had a few days to prepare for Volkanovski again. And if we remember that first fight, Volkanovski gave that dude all he could handle in that first fight. Yep. So, to go in there with the assumption that all of a sudden you're just going to wreck Volkanovski, I don't obviously think he did that, but there had to have been some adjustments, things that they were able to make the adjustments within the time frame that they had as well. And using that body kick is just something that would have worked for him throughout the fight, regardless of the knockout. Again, that body kick was there in the first fight. The body kick was there in the second fight. If it wasn't a body kick, it was going to be a low kick. If it wasn't a low kick, it could have been a high kick. The point is that left kick was there for him and was going to continuously be there for him with the range that Islam had in that fight against Volkanovski and the stance difference that they had. So the fact that it ended up in a head kick just goes to show how well Islam can do what he does. Yeah. But that body kick, man, that body kick was money.
Well, it is the first time that Volkanovski, he didn't lose back-to-back fights, but first time he has lost fights in this quick succession in his entire career.
Yeah.
And Islam Makhachev just rolls on, man. Let's talk about what could be next for the lightweight champ. Mark, what do you think?
Well, obviously we know it's going to be one of Charles Oliveira or Justin Gaethje. To me, now that we have hit the point that we've hit here, as much as I love Charles, it almost feels like now that you have both of them waiting, it makes more sense to give the first shot to Gaethje. Simply because he hasn't had a shot against Islam before, and he's the one that's 100% ready to go, whereas Charles needs to get this cut to heal and get back in training. And I would guess that Islam wants to fight before Ramadan, which starts in March. So it's not like we're waiting that long to book a fight, assuming that's the case. So I don't know. To me, I think Gaethje probably makes more sense, and Charles could take a fight if he wanted, or could even just wait for the winner of that fight. But Dana has made it seem like the plan is still to go with Charles. So I guess we'll have to see what they do here. It's a long time to kind of sit on the sidelines if it does end up being Charles for Justin Gaethje. So sucks for either guy, for sure. Someone's going to have to wait.
I like the point that Gaethje made, man. It does feel like a fresher matchup, obviously, because these two guys have not fought. And I think that it would be good for the lightweight belt. What do you think, Omar?
I think we've also I think we've had a past where we've talked about Gaethje getting a rematch against Khabib, especially after that first fight and all these kind of things, and we never had that opportunity after Khabib had obviously retired. And I think, Justin has been talking about this over and over again, how, everybody talks about Islam being the next Khabib, and he kind of wants to test that for himself, especially because he's never gotten an opportunity to get that back. So I like the fight. I think Justin knocking out Dustin Poirier kind of should give you a golden ticket to do whatever the fuck you want in your next fight. So if he wants a title shot, I think he's definitely earned it. If Charles isn't ready, then it should go to Justin at this point.
Islam Makhachev improves his pro record to 25-1 and now is riding a 13-fight win streak in the UFC.
Imagine he had never gotten caught by Adriano Martins. What a record that would be.
If he was fucking 26-0 right now.
Yeah.
What did Khabib finish at? 26-0 or 29-0?
29-0?
9, right?
Yeah, that was the whole thing, is that he never did.
Was he going to go for 30, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm confirming that, but I'm pretty positive.
Mr. Volkanovski, not too far off. His record falls to 26-3.
Horrible.
Horrible. He still has only lost ever to two men, but now has back-to-back losses to the same man. Again, back-to-back losses to the same guy that he lost. Anyway,
dude, it's gonna eat at him, man. And I think we talked about this over text message, but that shit I feel like it eats at me. It's not even my fucking fight. It has nothing to do with me. But like, it's gonna eat at him that he took this fight on short notice. He gambled everything. I mean, it's almost like a little bit of like some degenerate shit, right? Like he put everything on the line through like gambling. Like he put everything into like a one hand, had no idea what the fuck was gonna happen, wasn't prepared, and was just kind of like, I feel lucky. I'll be fine. Everything will be great. Yeah.
I mean,
and I don't even think he thought that. I really don't even think he thought that. I think he was just like, the stars are aligned, and I think he kind of deluded himself 100%. Into thinking that this was a moment for him. And from listening to a little bit of his post-fight interview when he was talking about not being able to be in camp and train and things like that, like there is an obsession, and GSP's talked about it before, about the obsession that comes with being a champion, right? Like that this is the level of craziness and love that you have to do this in order to be at the level that these guys are at. I don't train at that level, and I hate not training. So I can only imagine what it does to some of these guys who live for it, literally live for the sport. So
it's a really weird moment in that press conference afterwards where he almost like said in a pleading way, he addressed the UFC. He's like, please keep me active. Like I need to be.
He said it in the cage. He said the same thing in the cage.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was the Australian version of just let me bang, bro. That's what it was.
For sure. Yeah. So he still is a champion. He still is the UFC undisputed featherweight champion. What could be next for him? He probably is going to step away from lightweight for some period of time. Maybe he'll be back. But what's next for the belt, Mark?
I mean, as long as he can get medically cleared, I'd love for us to still get the Volkanovski versus Topuria matchup as planned. That's an incredible fight. I think it got a little bit forgotten about in the hype of all this happening. But, remember back a couple weeks ago, we were all hyped as shit for that fight. Like, that's a very big fight. Topuria is maybe the most interesting challenger Volk has had at featherweight in a while. So, I don't know what the situation is going to be. Obviously, he didn't get knocked out necessarily, but nearly. So I don't know what the getting cleared situation is going to be in terms of being allowed to fight in January, but hopefully he can, and hopefully we still get that fight.
Omar, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I imagine we're going to go at this point. Obviously, if he's not ready for whatever reason, if he does need to take time off, because shins to the head are not a great thing. I know, when that happened to somebody that I know at the gym, we were all very much like, stop trying to look for a fight, dog. Just chill out. You're going to need some time to heal. So maybe his team does that. I mean, we'll see what happens. But if he is ready, he should be taking the fight against Topuria. If not, if it is Max and Topuria, then obviously we need to see him against the winner.
Okay.
It's crazy that there's a scenario where we could already have another Volk Max fight if it plays out in that way.
I know. Topuria is
would
really
that be their
just
fourth?
Yes.
their fourth.
Fourth
But
in
like-
a series that's 3-0.
Topuria might be one of the first people now to seriously give me some real hesitation on
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure.
on like picking against him against some of these like top guys.
Oh, he's scary.
I'm very quick to pick, Max Holloway in just about any fight. I'm quick to pick
Right.
Volkanovski in just about any fight. But when I stop and have to think about Topuria, I have real reservations going into those picks.
It's very funny what happens in MMA when you see seeing a guy lose a close fight is one thing, but when you see a guy either get very clearly beat or get finished, how your mind becomes open to more possibilities. Because like as much as I think Topuria is incredible and arguably the toughest challenge Volk will have at featherweight in a while, there's no shot I would have considered picking him just because Volk is Volk. And now seeing Volk get finished, I'm like, well, shit. Like, do I definitely pick Volk? Like, it just your mind can change so fast just from seeing one bad night from a fighter.
Yeah, and you got to wonder if that happens.
The invincibility aura goes.
And does it go for the fighters themselves too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because man, God, how good is Islam Makhachev? How good is this man? Like, how do you beat this guy? How do you beat this guy other than what Martins did? You just have to catch him.
The only thing, I feel like Charles fought a very bad fight against him, so I'm still interested to see a guy with that kind of jits fight him. I just didn't like Charles' approach in that fight. But that aside, the only thing I can really think of is a dude who is just going to, like, put constant offense in his face. And not saying that's going to work. Like, and that type of person is a Justin Gaethje. And I would be picking Islam if that fight got booked today. But like that's the only. I feel like both Charles and Volk were very. You can't go by the second fight, but the first Volk fight and the Charles fight, they were both very respecting of Islam more than I thought they would be in the striking aggression, which obviously is because of the wrestling. But I wonder if Gaethje would be more aggressive, and I wonder if that's like the only thing we have not seen someone try to utilize yet.
It does beg the question that is he going to approach that fight the way that he should have approached the first Khabib fight? Because the only Khabib fight, in the Khabib fight, he gave him too much respect, almost the way that
100%.
Volk and Volk did to Islam. So it begs the question: does he almost approach this like a rematch with Khabib, right? With some differences in the striking and stuff like that for sure. He's not an idiot, but the idea being not to give him that much respect, right? Not to give the wrestling that much respect. He can wrestle too. He can do shit and potentially push forward in that fight instead of being on his back foot the whole time.
That's what I mean. To get Islam on the back foot, I guess is the summary of what I'm trying to say here. But the curveball is that Islam's a better striker than Khabib ever was.
100%. Khabib had an overhand right, and that was about it.
Exactly. Like Gaethje could try to put Islam on the back foot and get fucking one hitter quittered onto his face. Like who knows?
Yeah.
That's what drove me fucking crazy about the Conor fight. Fucking Khabib has one punch, and Conor got hit by it. Conor can't get hit by goddamn anything, and he gets hit by the one fucking punch that Khabib hits.
He was so concerned with the wrestling.
Ridiculous. Drives me wild.
Yeah. Yeah, Khabib and Islam to me are very different. Islam is just so complete, man. He's so complete.
He is. I mean, he's taken what Khabib did great and added it to what he already does great. And now you have a real fucking problem at 155 that's not going away until he decides to.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, let's move on, man. Congrats to Islam, dude. So good.
Dude, he
He's
was in
so
top
good.
form too. Like
really
me and Mark
was.
me and Mark were talking about it. What was it, the face off or was it the walkout? Might have been the walkout.
Yeah, the walkout.
Dude, Islam looked like on point. Physically and mentally, he was dialed in. You could see the vast difference between the way that he walked out and the way that Volk walked out.